Hello, brilliant sponsors. Thank you for switching on. My name is Jack Hayes. I am the program lead for the Love Local Jobs Foundation. It's so good to see you all. Thank you for your continued brilliant, overwhelming support of the foundation. I'm going to be giving you a little insight before we get going this morning into what the foundation is all about and what we are trying to achieve with the work that we do. But before I do that, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you for taking the time to watch this first in a short series of videos that I'm going to be sending you, which is going to help you as you engage with some brilliant young people over the coming weeks as we help them together try and understand and get to the full potential that they have inside of them. That is what the foundation really is all about. The work we do here is all about inspiring the next generation, giving them the self-belief, the tools that they need to go on and become the best versions of themselves. And at the same time, getting them to understand that being the right kind of person and treating people the right kind of way also can be great skills when it comes to becoming someone that is really employable. Because this foundation and the work that we do is very much about making these young people aware of themselves and aware of being the right kind of person, but B, making them understand that the more employable they can make themselves, the better chance they're going to have of moving on when they leave further education. Because I'm sure many of you, just like me, if not all of you, can remember what it's like being a year 9, a year 10, 14, 15 years old and having that overwhelming fear above you that is caused by panic and by pressure that you're not going to go on and accomplish what you want. So our job is about alleviating some of that pressure, taking it away and encouraging these young people to focus on the strengths that they undoubtedly have and to focus on the things that make them a decent person, and at the same time equipping them with all of the skills that they need to go on and be a tremendous success. Because I'm a big believer that every single person has something to offer, however many of them just don't know how to tap into it. And that is what the foundation, myself and you, our brilliant mentors, are going to help them figure out. So first of all, thank you for being here. I can guarantee you're going to take an awful lot out of this journey that we go on together. We're going to meet some fantastic young people, and when you see them grow the way they will grow, it gives you an outstanding sense of gratitude, and it almost makes you feel humble that you can make a difference to these young people's lives. So thank you very much indeed for being here. Thank you to your organisations for their continued brilliant support. And I think before we get into it, and before we get into the first set of messages that I'm going to be delivering, because these videos that you're watching now, you will be seeing after I have been in and visited and spoken to the students at their schools. And it is such a shame that we can't all do it together, which I know is the goal, and it's a goal that we're going to get there, and we're getting closer every day, because sooner or later, you know, I can take you into the school and meet these young people face to face. But until then, you'll be watching these videos to get a flavour of what I've been talking to them about in the schools, and then you will be engaging with them remotely and discussing some of the points that I've raised and how the young people are going to implement those points that were raised when I went into the schools. So that is a real kind of flavour of the work the foundation do. I suppose really the first thing I should probably get to is you might be looking at this thinking, you know, well, why him? I mean, why me? Why am I doing this job? So I thought before we got into some of the meat and bones of the actual programme, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and give you a little bit of background. My name is Jack Hayes, as I say, I'm 46 years old. I live in Henfield in West Sussex with my wife and my 2 boys. But for the last 18 years or so, I've kind of been known in Sussex as something else. Because for them last 18 years, I have been a presenter on breakfast show radio here in Sussex. First of all, I was on the air on breakfast for 15 years at firstly Southern FM, which then turned into Heart FM, and that's my little banner there behind me. That's me with Tom and Nicola, my co-hosts. I did that job, as I say, for 15 years. I was on air at Heart. Something I'm very proud of, because by the time I left, which was at the end of May 2019, when I did leave, I was the second longest breakfast show host on the same show in Great Britain, which is something I'm really, really proud of. And I'll be honest, I don't like talking about myself too much because I like to keep it humble, I like to keep it real. But that is important for when I put into context some of the content that I talk to the young people about. So yeah, 15 years at heart, won a good few national awards along the way, which was very, very nice. Not my thing, big award ceremonies, but it's still nice to be recognised. And our show here, Heart Breakfast with Tom, Nicola and Jack, was very much seen as the benchmark for commercial local radio in the UK. We were very highly thought of, which was very, very nice. It was a successful show. And I did that show for 15 years until I left, as I say, at the end of May 2019. And I'll be honest, I was kind of like, right, that's it for me for breakfast radio. I don't want to get up at 4 in the morning anymore. And it is 4 in the morning for 15 years, which is kind of why I look like this, a little bit beaten up and haggard and whatnot. But yeah, I thought that's it. I'm retired now, don't want to do it. However, that wasn't really the case because this is me now. I am back on breakfast radio in Sussex with More Radio, which is pretty much the only really sort of big commercial local radio station left in Sussex. After I'd left, I was out of radio for around about 6 months or so. I started working here with the foundation, which is a job that fills me with so much joy. And then a call came to me from More, and they said, look, we want you to come and help us. And I said, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And we tweaked a few things, and there I am, back on air with Tom once again, which is lovely because he's a great friend, and the very lovely Lou in the middle. And yeah, we're keeping it local in Sussex, which is really, really nice because there is a huge demand for local radio if it's done well, and I like to think we do it well. And that's where I am now. I'm back on air at More with Tom and Lou, and I have to be honest with you, I'm loving it because this county has been so good to me over the years, and I wouldn't have managed to get to where I got to unless the people of Sussex really took me in. So to be able to still communicate with them is a brilliant, brilliant thing. And for all of the kind of success, if you want to call it that, I've had, and for all of the lovely things people say about me, my upbringing, and this is one of the first things that I really talk to about the young people when I go into the schools, wasn't really pointing in that direction. Because you can probably hear from a twang in my voice, I was not born in Sussex. I was born in a very poor part of southwest London. To my mum, Denise. I've got 2 elder sisters, Joanne and Tracy, and a younger brother, Matthew. And I'm a council house boy, which I'm very, very proud of. I'm extremely proud of my roots. I lived in 4 houses by the time I was 10 years old. This, as you can see, is an image of my first ever house, which I managed to find on Google Earth. It's clever, isn't it? And the first thing I want to say is there's nothing wrong with living in a house like this. I mean, many of you would have lived in houses like this. I know people that live in houses like this. But the reason I show this image to the young people in schools, which I do, is to kind of put into context the fact that aesthetically you can see it's not very pleasing, and it doesn't show a property where you would imagine that inside there was an awful lot of money, and there wasn't. And we were really poor when I was a little boy. When I was 2.5 years old, my biological father walked out on me and my 3 siblings and my mum, and I never ever saw him again. He left my mum living in this house with us, with no money, with no income, and I never saw him again. So when I was young, it was a real struggle growing up. We didn't have food we didn't have money for proper meals when I was growing up, so our staple dinner would be baked beans, crisps, not chips, crisps, and Spam. I'm sure you all know what Spam was. We would have that most nights. If we were lucky, my mum would get enough money together during the week so that on a Sunday we could have some sausages and some potatoes. So it was tough going, man. I had 1 bath a week, which I would share with my brother. And that was the way that we lived. My mum is my hero, or was my hero. I lost my mum at the beginning of last year. And she did everything she could to keep us going, really. But it was tough times. And when you're living in them conditions at home, it doesn't bode particularly well for you when you go here. And one of the things that I talk to the young people in the schools about is what a terrible time I had at school. I was bullied mercilessly at school. And when I say mercilessly, I mean mercilessly. I'm talking about walking through the hallways of my school looking for a teacher when I was 13, and I'd wet my pants, wet my trousers because I was so frightened about what had just happened to me in the playground. I was bullied because I didn't have a decent packed lunch. I was bullied because my clothes didn't fit, because my clothes had holes in. I was given a real torrid time when I was at school. And I never really fitted in anywhere. And this is one of the things that I really chat with these young people about. The fact that because I didn't fit in, it made me feel like I didn't have a place in the world, if you will. And one of the first things that I talk to these young people about is the fact that all them reasons that I got bullied, none of them were my fault. And the fact that even now, at 46 years old, and I'm going back 33 years, I can still remember the names of the boys who put me through all of that, and I can still see their faces. So I'm really, really big on these young people understanding that treating people the right way is actually an extraordinarily good skill to have. Because one of the phrases that I use when I'm in these schools with these youngsters that I truly believe in is that for all of the success people go on and have, for all of the money they have, for all of the cars they have, for all of the houses all over the world they have and the holidays they have, the single most powerful thing that they will ever own is the effect that they have on other people. And I really try and get across to them that if they can start learning to treat people the right way early on, it sets them in really good stead for when they leave education and training, because employers value that kind of thing as a really important skill. The fact that if you can show empathy and if you can show respect and a good work ethic, those are important skills to have. But also, I like these young people to understand that they may be doing far more damage to that person that they bully for being different, for liking a different kind of music, for adhering to a different religion or culture, or for just being a bit alternative in the way they live. That the bullying and the stick they might be giving someone like that stays with them for a long, long time. So that's kind of why I do this job, because I lived in this really fragile eggshell when I was at school, not believing I could go on and achieve anything. And then I did do that. And in a minute, I'm going to tell you about one of the things I tell the guys in the school about that I think is a super important thing to realise and implement as soon as they can, which is identity and their own identity. But before I do that, just so you know how this would normally work. Normally, we would now all be in a big room together, you, me, and the students, or a school hall. You would be watching me present, and then I'd be sending you off into little breakout groups to meet your students and start chatting about some of the points that are raised throughout the morning we would spend together. Now, obviously, we can't do that at the minute because of our friend, Mr. COVID. So you are going to be doing these mentoring sessions virtually, remotely, if you will. All of the videos I'm sending you here today would be from what is called the launch, if you will. This follows on from the first time I meet the students. We are going to be sending you a booklet. The foundation will send you a booklet with, I guess they're questions, but I'd rather call them conversation starters about talking with your students about some of the key points that are raised. And these would be the first things I'd want you to talk to them about. That school experience. You know, what were you like at school? What were your likes and dislikes about being at school? Did you want to go to uni? If so, and you got there, what did you study? Did you know when you was at school what you wanted to do when you left education, when you stopped going to school, college, university, and do you do that now? And also, in general, what were you like as a young person? If you think back to what you were like when you were 13 and 14 years old, what kind of person were you? Did you think you was okay, pretty decent, or were you a bit of a wrong 'un? You know, were you a bit of a scoundrel, didn't behave yourself? Maybe you weren't a nice pupil to other pupils, and please be honest about that and really try and engage with the student on these virtual mentoring sessions that you have, because at 13, 14 it's hard for them. I mean, you know that, I know that, you remember what it's like being that age. It can be hard, but the more that you talk with them and turn it into a conversation, the more luck you're going to have, you know. So yeah, really engage and have a chat about school first off if you can. What were you like? Were you decent? Are they decent? Did you like it? Do they like it? Have that chat about school, how it made you feel, how it makes them feel. And then what I'm going to do the next time you see me on this video is talk to you about something that I think is really important to learn early on at school, and that is your identity. Who you are as opposed to who you're not. That's what we'll be talking about in a bit. But yeah, the first chunk that I'd like to talk about when you do virtually meet your students is school. How was it for you? How was it for them? Have they got an idea of where they want to go? Okay, brilliant stuff. It's nice to see you all. I don't know why I keep saying that because I can't see anybody. I'm just looking down the lens here. I'll be back to you with another video soon, and we'll be talking identity. Cheers.